Hello class. Today I want us to look at the first topic of Form 2. It is among the very many topics that we have in Form 2s and a very enjoying topic. It's a topic about cubes and cube roots, and I hope we will enjoy because it is applying some knowledge that we learned in Form 1 about squares and square roots. So in this topic, we will have to interact and see how we can go about it. The objectives of this topic is that one, we are supposed to know how to express numbers in their prime factors, and this is one of the tasks that we had done in squares and square root topics, a topic in Form 1. The second thing is in this topic we will be able to find the cubes of numbers by multiplication. Multiplication exercise has been with us for all the topics that we have covered, so it will really be a very simple task. Again, we'll have to interact with our mathematical tables like we did in Form 1 in the topic of squares and square roots. We will try to see how we will find the cubes of numbers by use of mathematical tables. It will be simple for us to do so because we did interact with these mathematical tables while in Form 1. We will also be able to find the cube roots of numbers by factor method. This is something that will go hand in hand with the prime factors. As long as we know how to express numbers in their prime factors, then we will be able to find cube roots of numbers by use of these factor numbers of values. So it will be a very enjoying task for us to do so. And for prime factors, it's all about what we learned in prime numbers. For prime numbers, we know that they are numbers that are divisible by themselves and 1. So it will be very simple for us. And last but not least, we'll be able to evaluate expressions that involves cubes and cube roots. And again, like we did in Form 1 on squares and square roots, then again this one will be very simple for us to do so. And we will have to interact with this because we will have known on how to find the cubes and cube roots. And lastly, we will have to apply the knowledge of cubes and cube roots in the real life situations. We will see how to go about it since we will have learned about cubes and cube roots. Now, to start with, let us look at the prime factors of numbers and how are we supposed to go about it. The prime factors of numbers are done by use of prime numbers. We know about prime numbers. A very good example of a prime number is 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, and such numbers. And the first very example is a number like 128. You have to start with the least prime number that can divide 128, and you repeat that process until you get the least number on such. So in this case, you'll find that you have 2 numbers that can go into 128, and that is written as 2 to power 7. If you look at 128, it's an even number, so it can be divisible by 2. and you continue dividing the remainder of the number by the least prime factor. The next number is 196, and again we want to look at that and see how to go about it. We start with the least prime number that can divide 196, and that is 2. The remainder, you check whether it can be divisible by 2, and the process continues. And in this case, you'll find that we have two values of 2's and two values of 7, and that is written as 2 to power 2 multiplied by 7 to power 2. Another number is 405, and if you repeat the same process, you'll find that you have 3 to power 4 multiplied by 5. And you're supposed to note that a to power 3 multiplied by b to power 3 is equivalent to, by saying, a multiplied by a multiplied by a, and b multiplied by b multiplied by b, which means that a is multiplied 3 twice and b 3 twice. Then I want us to look at how can we find the cubes of numbers by multiplication. Very simple task, and we are going to see what is a cube of a number, and this is a number multiplied by itself 3 times. This can also be called a number cubed. So a cube of a number is a number multiplied by itself 3 times. And we are saying that this can also be called a number cubed. So we'll check by use of examples what we will be doing in that exercise. So the very first example is where we have 5 to power 3. Then if you look at 5 to power 3, it means that you have to multiply 5 3 times, and you get your result is 125. The same will happen to 6.13 cubed. That one you multiply 3 twice, you get the answer is 230.34639. Another one is 1.43, which is 1.4, which is 1.4 cubed. That one means 1.4 multiplied by itself 3 times to get 2.744. 3 cubed again, 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 3 to get 27. So that was a very easy task for us to do. And now we want to use the tables and see how we can find the cubes of numbers by use of tables. And we are going to look at some examples, a few of them, then that will guide us on how to go about it. So open up your tables, we move together, because that is what we are going to use. Open your mathematical tables on the page where we have the cubes of numbers, and we are going to see on how to go about it. And the very first example is 2 raised to power 3. By use of our mathematical tables, we will see whether we will get 8.000 as our answer. So our mathematical table has 2 parts of the table. The first very part is where we have the part of the table from 0 to 9, and then the other part of the table is from 1 to 9. Then we have the X column, where you have to check your values which you're finding the cubes for. So the X column will always guide you to know. And the X column is always up to 1 decimal place. Then the first variable will give you the second decimal place. That is from 0 to 9 table. Then the other part from 1 to 9 table will give you the third decimal place of a number. So we are going to check our very first number is 2, and we will check on the X column where our 2 is, because that is where we're going to start from. So you look at your X column. Your X column starts from 1.0 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, all the way to 9.9 on the other page. So that is what we're going to use. That is the column. You first of all have to look at that column. Where will you find that number which you've been told to find the cube for? So you're not going to look at any other column. It is the column of that number, the very first number with its very first decimal, the whole number with its decimal. So first very decimal. So you check on the X column. Then you will say, like 2, our 2 can be written as 2.0 in this case. On the X column, where can we find it? Check what has been circled with a red circle. That's where we have 2.0 along the X column. Now look at the 0. The other, you can write it as 2.00. So the other 0 is on top. So look down there and look across the 2.0. There is a number which is made by 2.0 and 0. This one will give us the answer that we need for that value, 2 cubed, and it will be 8.000. As you can see, it's a very, very simple task. The other number that we want to check its cube is 1.53. Now, how can we go about it? First, we have to look at our X column. Where do we have our 1.5? Up to the first decimal place. It's there where you can see the red circle. Then, already we have checked at that. Let us go to the next place, decimal, or the next decimal place, that is 3. And then we have to look along the 3 and across 1.5, there is a value which meets the 2, and that is 3.582. And actually that becomes our answer, 3.582. Then our last example will be 2.771 cubed. Then again, along the x-axis, along the x column, we will have 2.7. Now, where do we have 2.7? Where we have the circle, the red circle. Then there is another 7. Where do we check it? On top there. So that is the first table, 7. So across the 2.7 and along, that is 7, we have a number which meets the 2. As you can see, the red circle there, we have 21.254. There is also one decimal party which is remaining, that is on the part of 1. So you look at that on the other table, the last table. Where do we have it? Where it has been circled. You look down 1 and across 2.7, there is a value which meets the 2 there, which is 23. What do we do with that? 21.254 and 23. You're supposed to look at the 2, 21.254 and 23. Okay, then you add. And where do you add the 23? On the end, so that the answer will be 21.7, 21 point that value. The next is where we have the cube roots of numbers by factor method. And first, we are going to look at how do we find the cube root of numbers by use of factor method. One is like a number 64. We want to find the cube root of 64 by use of factor method. One, we're supposed to get the prime factors of 64, then pair those prime factors in 3s, and the pairs should have common values. So like in the first pair you have 2, you pair them in 3s, so the first group of 3 we have 2, the next group of 3 we have 2, then take 1 in each, then multiply. Like the first one we have 2, the second group we have 2, then if we multiply 2 by 2 we're going to get 4. Then we have another value which we can get its cube root, which is 216, then get the prime factors, then group them in threes, and in each group common values. So in this case we have 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2, 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 3. In each group of threes, take 1. Like in the first case we have 2, the second case of the group we have 3. Multiply 2 and multiply 3 and you get the answer as 6. The 6 is the cube root of 216, and that is very, very important for us to note that. If you have a number like 4 cubed, then you need to understand that that is 4 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 4, that is 64. So the cube root of 64 will be a 4. Then we have, what is a cube? Actually, we need to ask ourselves, what is a cube? The cube, a cube we had seen that as a number multiplied by itself 3 times. What's a cube root then? Is the number which is a special value that when used in multiplication 3 times to give that number. Then we have some examples of figures which are cubed, like a stack which is having a dimension of 3 stacks.